Welcome back to another Pint Podcast. This week we are joined by Midlands goal-scoring hero Lee Morris. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Cheers, fellas. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much. If it's all right, I just want to start right out at the beginning of your career, at the early stages at York, Sheffield United. Can you sort of talk us through them sort of youth teams and making your debut for Sheffield United?
Well, I mean, it seems quite a long time ago now. I grew up basically in Sheffield. My dad played for Sheffield United, and then he was. Phone call. Yeah, I'm having a nightmare in me, aren't I? Can cut that one out if you like. So yeah, my dad played for Sheffield. So I grew up in Sheffield, and then when I was about 8, we moved out to Scarborough so we could be assistant manager for Neil Warnock at the time. That's how long back it was when Warnock was at Scarborough. So I kind of grew up out there for a few years, and then when I was 16, I moved back to Sheffield to be apprentice at Sheffield United. In the meantime, York had kind of spotted us playing in a Sunday League game and invited me to go and play there. Oh, geez, another one. This is why I should have done it on your laptop. I'm actually at work right now, fellas.
Don't worry about
it. So yeah, moved over there. Went to York for a couple of years, but because my dad's like. I still had close ties with Sheffield United. It was always a case of if I was any good, you know, I'd go back to United for a trial. And so when I was about 14, we went back there and I signed schoolboy forms for that. And then when I was 16, moved back there to be an apprentice at Sheffield. And for me, growing up, you know, my dad played for Sheffield United. I'd kind of grown up being a Sheffield United fan. It was like, you know, that was a club I always wanted to go back to and be a part of, you know. So I was pretty lucky to kind of start off my proper full-time career at Sheffield.
Yeah, just to touch on your dad, Lee. So he had, like you say, an incredible career at Burnley, Southend, Blackpool, and Sheffield United. Were you always going to be a footballer after that, or?
You know, Wikipedia, you lads, aren't you? Done a fine job.
Every week we are.
Sorry, what was the question?
No, just was it always a case of following in your dad's footsteps? Were you always going to be a footballer, really? Was that the dream?
Yeah, I mean, as long back as I remember, that's kind of what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I wasn't really into computer games or school or anything like that. I just always wanted to play and always had a ball at my feet. So, that was always what I wanted to do. When I was at school, I was always not the greatest because I wanted to be a footballer and thought that's where I'd be going. So I was lucky that I managed to do that, you know.
Yeah.
Did it ever feel like it gave you added pressure with your dad sort of having quite a good career as well?
Well, it was being at Sheffield with him. It was interesting because, you know, I got introduced on my debut as Colin Morris's son. Lee Morris is coming on. And so that was probably the biggest cheer I ever got in my career, you know. So, I mean, it was, for me, being a Sheffield fan, going back there, playing at Sheffield was always a big deal. And playing, you know, I wore the number 7 shirt a few times at Sheffield, which was my dad's number. And it was a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
What was it like making your debut then? Like, 'cause we've asked that to quite a few people. It's like the dream for fans like us. What's that like when you finally come on? How does that feel?
I mean, it was all, for me, it was a bit of a shock. You know, I was only 17 and I'd been like with the youth team and reserves, but never really been. I was the kid that they pulled up to train with the first team if someone was injured or they had a player shirt. I was never like, I wasn't around the first team for 4 months and it was a gradual thing. Mm-hmm. I got a phone call basically after I'd left training on the Friday saying, go and get yourself a suit. You're going to be involved on Saturday. And I had to go and get myself a suit. I didn't have one. So then I went and got one, and I thought I was just in the squad. Then I got named on the bench and thought I was going to be like an unused sub, and then got thrown on with 20 minutes to go. And it was just totally out of the blue. So I didn't really even have time to shit myself. I was just in there, you know what I mean? Straight in and on. So I remember Wolves, it was against Wolves at home, and we were in the running for the playoffs at the time. And Tony Daly had been, he was a quick winger that played for England and Villa. And I remember I was left wing, he was right winger, thinking, Jesus, he's quick, and I was quick at the time. But I can just remember being really excited about it. And then it was all over pretty quickly,
Yeah. I know you've touched on it, but you said that you're a Sheffield United fan. How do you feel about Chris Wilder at the moment? Obviously.
I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbreaking. I can't believe that it's happened like this. In my lifetime, when I was young, following my dad, they were crap. Yeah. And then when he left, they were good, and we were in the Premier League for a couple of years. And we've been kind of a yo-yo club, up and down. So this, in my whole lifetime, this is the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
And so to think about sacking him is just ridiculous. But the way that it's all gone down, there's been rumblings for a little while that stuff was going on behind the scenes, but I always figured the club would do anything to hang on to him, and so it's going to be a tough, bleak few years in front of us, I think, to be honest.
I just think he'd have been the perfect person to take you back up, wouldn't he?
That's it.
I don't think there'd have been anyone better.
No. Someone posted the other day I saw on Instagram, there's only Klopp and Pep in the last 3 or 4 years that have got a better record in Britain than him.
Wow.
I believe it.
Unbelievable stats Sheffield United have got, since they were in League One. But, chairmen are idiots, I guess, is the lesson we need to learn here.
They're not football.
Sums it up is, as a Burnley fan, there's a few rumours about Sean Dyche might go this summer after 8 years with us, and Wilder would be the first person I've turned to, and he's just been sacked.
Yeah.
But would you want rid of Dyche? Like, you remember Stoke did it with Pulis. They wanted to get nicer footballing, and then they tanked. Would you want that for Burnley?
No, not at all. I just think Dyche is the one who wants out, really. I think he fancies a bit of a bigger gig, a bit of money to play with. And there's rumours. The rumour that we're hearing is that Hodgson might retire in summer and he might go to Palace. And for me, if that happens, Wilder, straight off, get him in.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, after the glamour of Sheffield, do you think he'd want to go to Burnley?
Just a bigger Burnley, isn't
it? Anyway, right, let's get back on to you, Lee. So, a couple of years after you've made your Sheffield United debut, you've moved to Derby. So how did that? We're always interested to know sort of how a transfer works behind the scenes. So how did the offer come about, and were you looking to leave, or was it you were told you were going?
No, there'd been like things in the summer. I'd been reading in the papers that, I'd been linked with Derby, and we played Arsenal in the FA Cup while I was at Sheffield a couple of times, and I'd done well in both games.
Yeah.
And started getting linked with them. Anyway, I broke my foot in pre-season that year. Okay. So it kind of stalled everything a little bit. But Sheffield had, we were in dire straits, had no money. And so I was one of the kind of saleable assets at the time.
Yeah.
And so I basically, when I was getting fit again, the manager said, right, you're going to train on Thursday. And I hadn't really been cleared. Trained on Friday, and then we played Crewe away on Saturday, and he put me on the bench, and I wound up playing the last 15 minutes or so, which, after being out 6-8 weeks, I probably shouldn't have done. Anyway, then Sunday afternoon, I got a phone call saying, you're going to Derby tomorrow. We've agreed a fee. You need to agree your wages and that you're getting sold.
Yeah. And
that was it. It wasn't, it was probably before the days of when you say, well, I want to meet the manager and learn a little bit more about the club. And make sure if this is right for me or anything. It was, you're out. This is what's happening. You're gone. And so in hindsight, I probably, I would have probably preferred to have gone to Arsenal, but
excuse me. Excuse me, Derby County fan on Italy at the moment. You feel a bit hurt then that they were selling you? And the way you found out, I mean, reading in the paper as well, sort of seeing you linked with them. And
it was just the way it was done. I mean, the other side of it was they were in the Premier League and they were pretty established at the time. They'd finished about ninth the year before. They just built Pride Park, which was like state of the art. And they were building a new training ground, and they were having a go. Yeah. So it wasn't like I was joining somebody that was definitely going down or anything like that. It was definitely a step up for me. Yeah. And Jim Smith had been around, a long-time manager. They had Seth Johnson and Rory Delap, young British lads in the dressing room. So it was a good move. Just Arsenal had Bergkamp and Henry and all of them. That would probably have been a better move.
Yeah.
So that was it. I went on Monday. Had 3-day, the longest medical in the world because I'd always been injured, and then literally played. Started against Tottenham on the following Saturday. That was it. Wow. So it was pretty quick how it came about, and I was a young kid. I just went on with it, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, you touched on Jim Smith and famous manager. What was he known as? The Bald Eagle, was it? I think.
Yeah.
What was he like to play for? And compared to your managers prior and since, what was he? I can't really judge him. Was he disciplinarian? He looks like he has definitely a shout in him or a bollock in or two.
Very, very angry man, Jim. Very angry man. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I was like a young kid. I was 19 when I went, and I'd been, always like in the youth team. I was one of the better players, and got into the reserves straight away. Got into the first team at 17, and when the club was strapped for money, I was like the golden child at Sheffield. So everybody had their arm around my shoulder. Everybody was nice and telling me how good I was and where I was going and all of this. And then I met Jim Smith, and it was a little bit the other way, to be honest with you. I mean, in his defence, in his office that first week, I'd already broken my foot twice. And so in his office before I signed, I remember me and my dad sat one side of the desk, and he was saying, we're spending all this money. This is the most I've ever spent. We just can't get you injured. You've got to pass this medical. You've got to stay fit. And, it's really important. So I broke my foot after 3 games and was out for the rest of the season.
Oh, God.
So I didn't do him any favours. And so coming back the next pre-season, it took me a while to get fit, and the team started off, we were struggling. We weren't as high up in the league as what we had been the year before. And so he had a lot of pressure on him, and he'd spent a lot of money on me. So I'm guessing I wasn't helping him out with that pressure by not scoring goals and stuff and not hitting the ground running when I finally did get fit. But I mean, he was old school.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of like, a little bit. I needed a manager to tell me how good I was, and I'd run through brick walls for you. But if you shouted at me, I was too young to kind of cope with that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't reacting in the right way to it. So that next year was tough under Jim. And I didn't really get going until John Gregory came.
Yeah.
John Gregory came in, and I scored his first game. We beat Tottenham at home 1-0. I scored the winner that day. And like from day one, he came in, he put his arm around me, he told me I was going to be his best player and all that, just blew so much smoke up my ass. I believed every word of it. And, kind of like I had a good run between then and the end of the season under him, and then we got relegated, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, well, sort of touched on that season. Well, playing against Man United, who's won the league, and Derby turn up and win 1-0. I mean, we weren't out of trouble at that point. What was that feeling like to to have gone on and won against the champions, really?
Well, the week leading up to it, we'd done all like the team shape, and I wasn't going to be in the team.
Okay.
And so we've got to Old Trafford, and like you walk out of the stadium, and I'm there thinking, I want to play, and bloody hell, But at the last kick of training the day before, Daryl Powell had twisted his ankle and not made a big deal out of it. I had a fitness test the next morning, and I didn't know that he hadn't passed his fitness test and wasn't going to play. Okay. So he's put the team sheet up, and he's gone through the shape and stuff like that. And he wasn't a big tactician. It was like 2 minutes. This is a team shape. This is what we're going to do. Go and play. And I just looked at the subs, and I went on the bench, and I was so pissed off that I just switched off the rest of the meeting, and I'm sulking. As soon as he's finished, I've like gone up and like walked round into the showers and the bath, and I'm kicking my boots around in there, like pissed off. And he's come in and he said, right, okay, so when you get the ball, I just want you to kick it and run as fast as you can. And, I'm like all excited. And so, yeah, I mean, I again, it was one of them situations where I walked back into the room and like looked at the team, and I was on there and thought, oh, geez, I didn't expect that, like pretty excited. So I went out, and there was like, no pressure. Everybody was expecting us to get beat, and they were there to pick up their title and stuff. So we played real well, and Pumi had a blinder in net and made a couple of good saves, and yeah, it was a good day, that one.
Who would have been the defenders that day at Man United?
All of us.
No, for the Man United team, who would you have been against?
It'd have been Neville.
Oh God, I can't remember now.
Laurent Blanc, maybe Yapstam. Yeah,
it was that era. I think I've got a photo where there's Scholes, Keane, and Dennis Irwin are in the picture. Beckham was playing that day. Giggs missed a sitter. So they had, they didn't play the Rezzies that day for sure.
Not a bad team.
Did you get any memorabilia, any shirt swapping or blades of grass, as some fans do when they get onto a pitch?
So when I very first started out, when I was still at Sheffield, 17, young kid, we played Arsenal away. And after the game, walking off the pitch, I was all excited, and I went over to Tony Adams, like, an idol. So I said, hey, Tony, can we swap shirts? And he's looked at me and gone, piss off, kid.
Did he?
Absolutely shot me up. I was so embarrassed. So never again. I never swapped shirts with anyone for the rest of my career because I didn't want to get shot down. He didn't want my shirt. But yeah, none of them. Tony Adams ruined it for me.
They never meet your heroes, don't they?
Yeah.
If we ever get Tony Adams on, we'll call him out for it.
Yeah, we'll get him to send you one.
Just you touched on in that Derby team. I mean, you had a few superstars yourself: Mark Poom, King Clancy, Branko Strupar, Ravanelli. What were they like to play with, and who were the biggest character, would you say?
Well, it was that was like a weird era because coming from Sheffield, it was like a pretty young British kind of all lads together, and like we'd all have a night out, and it was no holds barred kind of thing. And then coming to Derby, it was exactly that. It was like cliques of different groups of people where we had all the Italians and the ones who didn't drink and the young lads who did. So it wasn't, looking back now, we were down the bottom of the league because it wasn't the tightest of dressing rooms. Yeah. There was too many of them. Now, I remember Taribo West came for a couple of months and was unbelievably good. Yeah. We played Fulham away, and he was a pastor, he was a vicar, and he used to like fly home every Saturday night after the games and not come back till like the next Thursday because he would be running his church in Italy. So I remember the first day he came in, and he used to call the gaffer Jim Smith, and we were at Fulham away. And he was, Jim Smith, I'll say a prayer. I'll say a prayer for the boys. So he got us around in a circle. Taribo was in the middle, and it was he's doing all the dancing, and we whoa, hey. It was absolute carnage. So Taribo was definitely the biggest character for however long he was there, for a couple of months. But we had some good lads. Stefano Aranio was probably the best player who was there. He was just such a quiet, unassuming, nice bloke. You would never have known where he'd gone in life, and so like the career he had, he was just such a nice bloke.
Yeah. What were Ravanelli like, Lee? Because obviously he did great at Borough, and then when he were at Derby, whether it's right or wrong, he was perceived a bit like a money grabber, wasn't he? That's how it was in the media anyway. What were perceptions for lads then? Like you say, you were used to a tight dressing room. Did you kind of have that feel about him? Was he just there picking up a paycheck, do you think? Or
it was hard for him, because I think you're never going to turn down. I think he was on like 50 grand or something. I mean, it wasn't his fault. You're not going to say no, are you?
Yeah.
So he was coming to the end of his career by the time he was with us, and I think that was just it. He got injured. I remember him getting injured for a long time and kind of disappearing, going back to Italy and not doing his rehab at Derby. And, I kind of think even you have to be going in every day and doing your work and be seen to doing your work, and there was none of that with him. Yeah. But again, he was Ravanelli. So if he wanted to do that, who were we to kind of argue with it? It was just the way that it was. So he was a nice bloke. I think that he was hard done by for the perception of him, because it was just the stage he was at in his career that's the way it went at Derby. But he was in hell of a team at Middlesbrough as well. And I think, I'm not sure we were quite as strong at the time,
Yeah. How did it all come about leaving Derby then? Because I know obviously you moved over to Leicester. Was there any sort of underlying issues to why you didn't stop longer, or was it just sort of the offer was accepted and out of your hands?
I was coming to the end of my contract at Derby. I think they were trying to clear the decks a little bit and just move on to a new era. George Burley was in, and we had a big squad that needed trimming. And so it was one of them. I guess they could have let me leave on a free in summer, or sell me at the time, because I don't think they were going to offer me anything new. So I was due to go to Sheffield, and I'd actually gone and done my medical at Sheffield, met with Warnock and all the rest of it, and I was all set to go back. And Sheffield, the way it all kind of shook out was Sheffield were playing Derby on a Tuesday night, and on that day I went to do my medical at Sheffield. Came back halfway through the game. I'd been left out the squad so I could do the medical and kind of get on my way past everything. And then they were playing Norwich away on the Saturday, which Sheffield at the time was second, Norwich were top.
Okay.
So Warnock had sort of said, listen, let's get that game out of the way. I don't want to upset the squad by bringing in a new player before the biggest game of the season. We'll do it after. So I said, okay, fair enough. Anyway, by the Friday, I'm calling him saying, well, when do you want me to come down? And he won't picking up, won't answering his texts. Just went total radio silent on me.
Yeah.
So on the Sunday, I got a call from my agent saying, listen, Leicester have put in a bid for you. It's been accepted. They're in the Premier League, but, if you go in, you need to go tomorrow because it's deadline day. Okay. So I was back in trying to get hold of Warnock, couldn't get hold of him. So it was one of them. I wound up going down on the Monday, agreed the money, did my medical, called him again at 4, and I was like, time's running out. What's going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, wound up signing for Leicester that night. Then I seen Warnock the next day on Sky blasting me, saying he calls himself a Sheffield United fan. I can't believe he's done this to the club, and his dad would never have done that, and all of that stuff. But I don't know. I think that he had another forward in the pipeline as well, and he was just seeing how it worked out and stringing me along till he could sign him. And it was a weird one. I wound up at Leicester instead of Sheffield.
Yeah.
So it'd have been a nice return, that, wouldn't it? But
Yeah.
I'd have loved it. Yeah, I was so excited. I couldn't wait to go back. But yeah, wound up at Leicester instead, which, you know, they were in Premier League, and it wasn't a disaster going back there. It was still a real exciting thing. Just didn't quite work out, you know.
No. Did you get any stick from like friends and family then? Because I'm guessing you've got friends and family who are United fans as well.
So
What
the first time I went back was I was on the bench for Leicester. And so obviously in the week leading up to it, it was that, you know, that Morris is coming back and stuff. You know? So I'd got a bit of stick when I went out to warm up. I got this kind of like few fans started booing and that. So the next time I went out, it was a bit louder. Next time, by the fourth time I went out, like the whole of the stand next to us was like up in arms. And I've kind of took a look. And it's like 10 of my best pals have all run down to the bottom of the stairs and they're all swearing at me and Morris, you all of this stuff. So I've turned around and like, oh, he's like, piss off. Anyway, the police ladies had to escort me back to the bench saying I was inciting the fans.
Oh,
so all my pals. So yeah, we had some, it was good banter going back for sure.
Is that sorted now with Sheffield then, Lee? Like, have you been back to Bramall Lane lots of times since, and fans are all right with you now, I take it?
Yeah. I mean, it is. It just is. It's all pantomime, isn't it? And you know, I loved it there, and you know, I wish. I'm in America now, so I wish I'd been able to go back when they were in the Premier League and see it all. You know, but it's been brilliant seeing them back up. You know, it's good to see them in the top division while it lasts.
Yeah, a few more weeks. But yeah, just on your time at Leicester as well, you hampered by injury, a serious knee injury. So what's that like? Just being out, sort of desperate to play and getting back playing. Obviously, a new club as well.
It was just the whole time at Leicester was really hard. I mean, it was Leicester's. It's a really good club. It was. Even then, you know, we were getting relegated at the time, but you felt like we were going to have a go to get back up. Mm-hmm. And so I wound up, I tore my thigh shooting at the end of practice on my first day. Mm-hmm. Tried coming back too quick, tore it again worse, missed the season in the Premier League, got relegated, worked all over summer to try and get back fit for pre-season. Did my cruciate about a week into pre-season and then missed the whole of that year. Yeah. And then last year in my contract, I was basically I was coming in before training, going into the gym, working, training, then going into the gym in the afternoon, trying to get as fit as I could. Yeah. And I look back now and I was doing too much. Yeah. Trying to get fit, and I was so desperate to stay at, you know, the big club. Yeah, because I was 24 when I went there, and I was kind of ready. You know, I knew I was a good player. I knew I could have a go. And Mickey Adams was a Sheffield United fan. Alan Cork was there, Sheffield United legend. So Dave Bassett was like the director of football, who you know, I grew up watching his teams at Sheffield. So I was in a really good spot with a really good club. Yeah, and it just, you know, it like disintegrated in front of me. It was a nightmare. Yeah. So. It's hard, you know, because nobody, you want to be fit and playing. So, Leicester was a tough time, really.
Yeah.
On a more positive note, then, obviously, Lee, Yeovil, we have to touch on Yeovil as well, because obviously you did score in a very famous semi-final win in the playoffs against Nottingham Forest, I think it was. And then, obviously, Yeovil got promoted, the highest ever position, and you know, I don't want to assume that's probably the highest position they'll ever be. You know, unbelievable for a club of that size to get as high as they did. What were your time like at Yeovil?
We had the year I was there. I had it was a brilliant year. It was the year Wembley opened. So beating Forest in that semi-final was like a massive thing to us. We were favourites for relegation. We were going to finish 24th out of 24 before the season started. So to get into the playoffs was just a fairy tale. And then, you know, 2-0 down after the first leg, going away to Forest, who were like the biggest team in the division, was, you know, we were written off by everyone. and they were selling on the electronic board. There was buses being advertised to Wembley, and so it was a sweet night, that was, and especially having been at Derby. I was the one that was getting booed and all of that. So it was that was a sweet night for us. We got beat by Blackpool. You remember when Blackpool had that good run?
Yeah.
So we got beat by Blackpool in the final at Wembley. And then the next year I did my cruciate again. First cup game. It was like in the League Cup away at Hereford. So that was pretty much the end of me at that stage, really. But that year at Yeovil was brilliant. That was after the couple of years at Leicester, where everything had gone wrong. For that to be like a fairy tale kind of year for me was really good fun.
Brilliant. Right, okay. Well, one thing that we do like to do, Lee, if you don't mind, we just do a quick 5-question quiz all about your career. I think you've answered a couple of questions anyway while we've just been chatting through. So if that's all right, we'll just finish on that. So it's called the Tommy Lee Pro 5 quiz because Tommy, former Chesterfield goalkeeper, was the first to get 5 out of 5. All right. So he got the naming right. So we'll go straight in. So number 1, of the clubs you played for, you scored the most goals for Derby. But how many goals did you score for the Rams? Is it 14, 15, 16 or 17?
16?
17. Maybe? You've done yourself out of one. Yeah, always go highest. I don't like to undersell people. Number 2, you netted on a few occasions at both Sheffield United and Burton. Which club did you score the most goals for?
What, of Sheffield or Burton?
At Sheffield or Burton, yeah.
Probably Sheffield.
It was 8 for Sheffield United and 7 for Burton, so not bad returns. Number 3, you received 1 red card in your career. Who was it against?
Wrexham.
It was. You scored the winner in that game as well, 2-1.
Scored the winner and then got sent off 5 minutes later, and it wasn't for swearing at the referee either. It was a bad tackle.
Was it?
Yeah, you'd be shocked.
Was it a deserved red card? We ask all as guests this, and they rarely say yeah.
It was an outrage, to be honest with you. I'm still bitter to this day.
What was it? A straight red then?
Full straight red. I just scored, and their fans. It was a big game. We were both trying to win the league at the time, and I just scored, and it was a bit of a controversial goal. They thought I was offside, so they went nuts. Yeah. And then literally straight after, it was a tackle right in front of all their fans, and they all went mental. It was all ball.
Yeah. We'll have to look it up. We'll believe you. So number 4, you made 38 Premier League appearances, scoring 4 goals. Who was your first Premier League goal against?
Tottenham.
It was, yeah. I was actually at that game. Weird story. Yeah. My stepdad's a Tottenham fan, and I were in away end at.
Did you think it went in?
It were close, weren't it? But I think we were right behind that net. I think, I were only young, but I think it did go in.
It was still to this day. I mean, if VAR was around, I'm not sure I'd have been given that one, to be honest. It was keeper straight through him. It was terrible.
I can remember it. Yeah, it was a bad goalkeeper. But I seem to remember it. I think it did go in. You can't take away from you now, can they?
Like that, brother.
And finally, which teammate did you share the pitch with on the most occasions? Is it Paul Boateng, Chris Riggett, or Danny Higginbottom?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Danny?
No, of the 3, Danny Higginbottom 45, Chris Riggett 49, Paul Boateng 56.
Wow. Midfield dynamite.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was that's it for the quiz. I don't know how many you got. Luke, do you know?
Not many.
Not many.
Not naming it after me, that's for sure.
You got through.
I think
Believe it or not, you're towards the top with that, Lee, because some of them have done absolutely shit.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that I'm asking questions about some people's own career with some answers they come up with, but yeah. Brilliant, mate. That's all we've got time for, but you've been absolutely amazing. We've loved it. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, fellas. It's been a good laugh. Anytime.
Brilliant. Look after yourself, mate.
Hey, cheers, fellas. You too, lads. Good to see you.
Cheers, Lee.
Cheers, Lee.
Thanks, mate. Bye.